Hi! It's our second week of making art projects about England, and this week I'm going to show you how to make a picture of a castle. Let's get started. For this week's project, you'll need some glue or a glue stick, some scissors, a piece of brown paper that you can cut from a grocery sack, or if you have brown construction paper, that's fine too. A piece of paper for your background that can be drawing paper or construction paper, and some markers. Begin by making sure that your brown paper is the same size or slightly smaller than your background paper. This is the paper we're going to use to cut the castle, and we want to make sure it's going to fit onto our background. I'm going to begin at the top of my brown paper and draw a line that goes down, over, and up. I'm going to then cut on that line to have the beginning shape of my castle. Next, I'm going to cut some slits in the top of each part of my picture. So I'll start with drawing a little line, making sure that these lines are equally spaced across my page. And then I'm going to cut on each line. Then every other one of these I'm going to fold down. And what I'm doing is I'm creating a castle line for the top edge of each part of my castle. Once you fold them down, you can snip those tabs off to have your line ready to go. Next, I'm going to make a line that goes up and then down, right in the middle of my paper. It's going to look kind of like an arc that you would make if you were making a rainbow, but it's going to be narrower and taller. So here I go. I'm going to go up and back down. If you want, you could put your fingers down and just draw a line that goes around your fingers so that you know that it's big enough, because we want this to be nice and big. Once you draw that line, you're going to cut it out, but you're going to save the shape that you cut out. So be sure you save this shape. Next, I'm going to create the sky and the ground. For the ground, I'm going to use green construction paper, and I'm just going to rip it so that it's not perfectly straight. And that way it can look like a little bit of a texture, like some grass or a hill. And you can layer it. So here I have my ground, and I can put my castle on top. I found this beautiful paper that looks like a Monet painting, and I'm going to use that for part of my sky, and also I'm going to put a little bit around the bottom for a moat. So I'm just going to cut some strips of this blue paper. And they can be skinny strips or wide strips. Or you could even rip them like I did the grass if you want them to be uneven. Because we're making different parts of our picture that are from nature, and when we look at nature for things like grass or clouds or trees, they're not perfectly shaped. So take your blue strips and then you can start to arrange them so that they become part of your sky. All right, so here I've glued down the blue pieces in the sky, and I left the white spaces to look like clouds, and then I glued down the blue pieces to be the moat. And I took this piece that I cut out here and glued it down here to be the drawbridge. So now I'm going to show you how to add some texture. If you want, you could use a kitchen sponge from your house and paint, and you could actually stamp a texture onto your castle. I don't have those materials here right now, so I'm going to just show you how to draw a texture using lines. So I'm going to make the texture of bricks on my castle. And you may have done this before in the Egypt project when we were doing pyramids and things like that. Sometimes kids add brick patterns onto their pyramids, but I like to start with just lines that go side to side. And then the pattern is created when you start to make your lines that go up and down, because each time you start a new row, you're going to make your line go in between the two lines from the row above it. So if you think about it, your lines won't be right below those lines. It's not like a crisscross pattern. It's a brick pattern because we're alternating. So this next up and down line is going to go in between these two. In between these two I'll make one, in between these two. And so you start to have a brick texture on your castle just making this pattern. On my drawbridge, I'm going to make a texture of wood because it's going to be a wooden bridge. And so I'm going to make the lines a little different there. I'm going to make some straight lines to be like boards, and then some wavy lines to be kind of like the grain of the wood. So you can make those two different textures, and then you could even add a texture in your grass. I'm going to take a darker green marker, and I'm just going to put a few little short zigzaggy lines to make a pattern, and that pattern will create a grass texture around your castle. So now I have a few different textures that make my picture more interesting. All right, so the final touches on my project, I added some triangles to be flags on top, and then inside here I'm going to think about what I want to be inside my castle. I love how in the story that was the read aloud story for the week, the little girl was trying to imagine what was in the castle, and then when she finally went into the castle, she learned that it wasn't really scary, it was actually really amazing. And inside your castle, I want you to use your imagination, and you can put whatever you want inside the door. You could put a self-portrait and draw yourself as a king or a queen. You could put animals, you could put plants, you can put whatever you think would be interesting to have inside your castle, just using your imagination. So I hope you've enjoyed making your castle, and I hope you remember to take a picture and share your work with me. And I look forward to seeing what you do. Bye.